Safer America plan. President Joe Biden shares his proposal to reduce gun crimes. Announce the gospel. The Holy Father's message to Catholic cardinals during a special mass. Taliban tyranny. Afghanistan's first female mayor shares her insights a year after the U.S. withdrawal. And The Way. Kathie Lee Gifford introduces an inspirational new film about the story of Jesus featuring an all-star Christian cast. On EWTN News Nightly for Tuesday, August 30th, 2022. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. I'm Tracy Sabol. President Joe Biden slams Republicans over gun violence. He traveled to Pennsylvania today, a key political battleground state, talking crime and his proposal to ban assault-style weapons. White House correspondent Owen Jensen reports. Owen?
Hi, Tracy. Good evening to you. President Biden is, in fact, visiting Pennsylvania 3 times in the coming week. This Thursday, he'll be in Philadelphia for a primetime speech. On Labor Day, he'll be in Pittsburgh. But first, today, he was in Wilkes-Barre talking money and more police.
When it comes to public safety in this nation, the answer is not defund the police. It's fund the police. Fund the police.
President Biden spoke at Wilkes University. He also wants to ban assault-style weapons. The focus today, stopping crime and, again, hiring police officers, more police officers. Homicides have been increasing in Pennsylvania. As you know, the midterm election is just a few months away now. A U.S. Senate seat there and the governor's office up for grabs. And this Saturday, former President Donald Trump will be in Pennsylvania for a rally. And by the way, back to the president's wanting a ban on assault-style weapons, the National Rifle Association, the NRA, recently tweeted, Biden, who is always protected by guns, wants to ban your guns. At the White House, Owen Jensen, EWTN News Nightly.
All right, thank you, Alan. Well, a new study says that President Joe Biden's poll numbers are slightly on the rise. According to yesterday's Real Clear Politics average, the president's approval rating now sits at 42%. Around a month ago, it was less than 37%. But can the president continue the momentum, and what does it mean for Democrats heading into the midterm elections? We go now to Tom Bevan, co-founder and president of Real Clear Politics. Tom, good to see you as always. So what do you make of these numbers, and what do you think is behind the rise in the president's approval rating?
Well, it's obviously good news for Joe Biden and the Democrats for his approval rating to be going up. 42% is still not great by historical standards, and still probably represents a real issue for a lot of Democrats around the country when they go to when they face voters in November. But it's better than 37%, as you mentioned, which is where he was at just 5 weeks ago. Mostly, it's Democrats coming home. Mostly Democrats who were not happy with the Biden administration. Are back on board after passing the CHIPS bill, after passing the revised version of Build Back Better, and his executive order on student loan forgiveness, which was a big want from the progressive wing of the party. So all of that explains why his approval rating is back up above 40%.
Yeah, I'm curious. I mean, how much of a factor are poll numbers when it comes to the actual outcome of election? I mean, do you think they're really good indicators of how people will turn out and vote?
Traditionally, presidential job approval has been one of the strongest indicators in terms of how the party will perform in the midterm election. It makes sense. If the person who is the leader of the party, who is in power, is doing a good job, people think that he's doing a good job, he or she, then they will vote for the party. And if he or she is not doing a good job, they'll vote against the party. Traditionally, historically, the first term for the in party has been rough, and that is certainly how it looks for Democrats now. But there's no question, to the extent Biden's job approval rating goes up, these Senate candidates around the country, these incumbent Democrats, have a better chance of winning if Joe Biden's job approval rating is higher. They're just simply not going to outperform his job approval rating by 5 or 6 or 7%. Particularly when Republican candidates will be tying those Democrats directly to Joe Biden and his agenda.
Yeah, I want to switch gears slightly here. Eric Rosales, our Capitol Hill correspondent, he's in Arizona right now, and he's covering the races there. Talk to us about why Arizona matters so much in the midterms, and how do you see those races shaking out?
Well, Arizona is a one of the perennial swing states now. It used to be not that way. It was heavily Republican for a long time. But as more folks have moved in from California and other states into the Phoenix area and the suburbs surrounding Phoenix, it has become a real battleground. And obviously, at the presidential level, it was decided by 10,000, 12,000 votes. So it is about as close and as evenly divided as you could be. And these elections reflect that. You have the incumbent Senator Mark Kelly. Most recent poll shows him up by about 4% over the Republican nominee Blake Masters. But we had a poll come out yesterday, a Trafalgar poll, showing Kari Lake ahead of Katie Hobbs by 1 percentage point. So that just gives you a sense of how close these races are going to be. There will be a ton of money spent there in the coming weeks, and one of the most closely watched Senate and governor's races in the country.
Tom, before I let you go, quickly want to talk about a story that's been grabbing headlines lately. A top FBI agent recently left his post, apparently accused of political bias in the handling of Hunter Biden's laptop. What more do you know about this, and what do you think this signals?
Well, I only know the public reports is that he was walked out of the FBI. Some say he abruptly resigned and then was shown the door. This was great reporting by the Washington Times yesterday. We'll find out more, but we are learning that the Hunter Biden laptop story, not only did media organizations social media organizations censor this, and mainstream media organizations like the New York Times and Washington Post flatly ignore this story, but now we're finding out that the FBI was behind this, issuing warnings, we learned, to Facebook and others, saying that this could be a dump of Russian disinformation. We know that's not true. We know the laptop has actually been verified. So we're learning more that the FBI played a role in trying to get this story censored and suppressed. And that, according to a lot of Republicans and Trump supporters, is election interference.
All right, we're going to leave it right there. Tom, thank you so much, as always, for your insights. Always appreciate it.
Thank you, Tracy.
Pope Francis concluded a meeting of the College of Cardinals today with Mass in St. Peter's Basilica.
Si presentano un duplice stupore.
The Holy Father spoke on the theme of Christ's apostolic commission to make disciples of all nations. Pope Francis said that all the cardinals share in a calling to passionately love the Church and serve her mission in any way the Holy Spirit may choose. 2 days of meetings highlighted the implementation of new reforms for the Roman Curia. Well, Pope Francis is stressing his condemnation of Russia's invasion of Ukraine as morally unjust. The Holy Father also asked for prayers to rebuild peace and to defend human life. His statement is a response to some who criticized his rebuke last week of a car bombing in Moscow that killed the daughter of an aide to President Vladimir Putin. Armed protesters in Iraq are standing down in response to a demand by a powerful cleric. Muqtada al-Sadr ordered supporters to disperse immediately today. His televised speech condemned 2 days of clashes in Baghdad's Green Zone, which killed at least 30 people. Several media outlets are reporting that North Korea's Kim Jong-Un contracted COVID-19 within the last month. They cite the country's state-run newspaper that the leader may have had the virus at a moment when his sister declared victory over a recent outbreak. The sources offer no further specifics, only saying that Kim suffered a high fever. The United Nations and Pakistan are appealing for emergency funds to help 500,000 people displaced by record-breaking floods. High waters from monsoon rains have killed more than 1,100 people since mid-June. The United States has committed to provide $30 million in humanitarian assistance. Canada unveils a new flag to remember a difficult chapter in the country's history. The survivor's flag honors Indigenous children who were put in residential schools.
Residential schools spent decades teaching Indigenous children that they had no value, that their language had no value, that their culture had no value. And that had a terrible impact on them and on our country.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau calls it a shameful part of Canada's history. The residential schools were operated by the Church and funded by the Canadian government. Last month, Pope Francis traveled to Canada to issue a historic apology for the Catholic Church's involvement. Coming up, international education. How leaders are sharing their ideas. Plus, The Way, the premiere of a new film with an all-star Christian cast bringing the story of Jesus to life. Emmy Award winner Kathie Lee Gifford is a well-known broadcaster, singer, and actress. She is also a devout Christian who is using her talents to bring others to God with her latest project. EWTN News contributor Catherine Hadro tells us about The Way.
If I trusted in my own unique God-given skills and gifts, there would be a path for me.
Kathie Lee Gifford is a familiar face to television viewers, having graced the morning talk show screen for decades. Throughout her career, Gifford has boldly shared her Christian faith to the mainstream audience. And she's doing it again, now for theater audiences, with the release of her latest film, The Way.
The Bible comes to life with music and narration in ways you've never experienced before.
How would you describe your latest film, The Way?
It's kind of I've been trying to figure that out for 4 years, Catherine. It's basically something that's never been tried before.
The Way is a film hitting theaters on September 1st only. A unique format, it consists of 4 oratorios, or large-scale musical works, spanning 75 minutes. The film brings biblical stories to life with contemporary orchestral arrangements and powerful visuals. Kathie Lee is director, writer, and narrator.
The Way is an epic journey through time.
The Bible, for people who've never read it, is full of the most unbelievable epic stories you've ever read in your life. People who say the Bible is boring, I promise you they've never read it. And we bring the Bible to life in a way you've never seen it before or heard it before. And I'm hoping that it'll start a spark in people.
The companion book to the movie is called The God of the Way, co-written by Gifford. It's another example of this TV icon using the media as her mission field.
Would you mind sharing a little bit about your decision to use your platform, to use your talents to speak about Christ? And did you take a risk in doing so?
Well, I think we take a risk in not doing so. You know, honestly, if we're not going to stand up for Jesus, who gave his life for us, who gave everything so that we could have life itself, what is, I don't want to risk disappointing him. I'm not afraid of speaking out for Jesus. I'm afraid of not giving an account of the hope that is within me. I was on NBC. I was in movies. I was in movie sets. I was on stages. I was all over the world. And I never, this is the most important thing, God gave me the wisdom to understand, never separate the secular from the spiritual.
Gifford tells us they filmed The Way during COVID in Israel, Utah, Texas, and Nashville. Given the recent popularity of scripture-based media, from the Chosen series to the Bible in a Year podcast, The Way might be landing in theaters at a providential time.
Looking at our media and cultural landscape, do you think there is an increased appetite for this high-quality, Christ-centered type of media?
Oh, yes, I do, finally. Personally, for me, having been in this industry for going on 6 decades now, you know, I have to do things well, or I'm not going to do them at all. And they have to just be as excellent. Our Lord is excellent. And I want the music to be first class. I want the performance to be first class, and not in a braggadocious way, just to honor our Creator.
Gifford hopes the ancient stories in The Way point people to how God is in their lives today.
Every one of these people's stories are ripped from the headlines today. Are you addicted? So were people in the Bible. Are you paralyzed with fear? So were people in the Bible. Were you barren? Couldn't have children, that was killing you? So were people in the Bible. Everything that happened to a human being in the Bible can happen in your life today. God has not changed. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever.
It's clear this media pioneer knows the Bible truly is the greatest story ever told. In Washington, Catherine Hadro, EWTN News Nightly.
And The Way will be in theaters for 1 day only, September 1st. For more information and for tickets, go to thewaymusic.com. Well, in Argentina, international education leaders gathered for a seminar in solidarity, learning, and service. The event, organized by the Latin American Center for Service Learning, took place at the Catholic University in Argentina. The project also received Vatican support through the Congregation for Catholic Education. Joining us now from Buenos Aires, Argentina, is Maria Nieves Tapia, founder and director of CLAYSS, the Latin American Center for Service Learning. Maria Nieves, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate it. Can you tell us more about this meeting and what was the main purpose?
Thank you for having me. We have just finished last week our 25th annual Service Learning Conference. It started being a very small Argentinian conference, and in the last year has begun to become a worldwide conference. This year we had people from the 5 continents, from the Philippines to Kenya to Taiwan to Palestine, and of course Europe, the US, Latin America. So we are very happy because we had around 400 people on site and around 1,000 people connected online. So it was really a global gathering around the idea of service and learning, and how any kind of educational institution can help their students not only to learn how to serve, but to use their knowledge, their heads, hands, and hearts to transform reality.
And I understand that you recently had contact with Archbishop Zwani of the Congregation for Catholic Education. If you don't mind, can you tell us about that and also how the Church and the Vatican are involved in your projects?
Well, as you know, Pope Francis made a universal call for the Global Compact on Education. And one of the pillars of the Global Compact on Education is learning fraternity. So service learning is one of the pedagogies that the Church has embraced to promote learning fraternity. So those of us who have been working with service learning for many years are really happy to make this connection. CLAYSS, as the Latin American Center for Service Learning, serves any kind of institution, confessional or not, public, private. But we have been working especially with Catholic schools and Catholic universities in the past few years around the Global Compact on Education, because service learning is the pedagogy that helps concrete the call for fraternity.
And finally, before I let you go, in October, an event on solidarity service learning will take place in Rome with about 100 Catholic universities. What more can you tell us about that? Uniservitate
is one of the programs we are running in collaboration with Porticus. It's a program focusing Catholic universities around the world wanting to introduce service learning as part of their institutional policies. And we will gather in Rome rectors, presidents, authorities of the universities, but also professors, teachers, and students. We made a call this year to a Uniservitate Award to recognize the best practices around the world, and the representatives of each region, the winners of the Uniservitate Award, will be also in Rome in this conference that will take place in the last week in October. Well, Maria Nieves, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it. God bless you. Up next, the woman who served as Afghanistan's first female mayor gives her view on the Taliban's return to power 1 year later. A stark warning by the United Nations. Afghanistan is facing a famine. In a video conference yesterday, the UN's top humanitarian officials said 6 million people are at risk. In some parts of the country, children are working in brick factories in order to earn money for food. These dire developments come on the 1-year anniversary of the official U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. Today, in part 2 of our interview with the country's first female mayor, I talked to Azra Jafari about what life is like now in her home country under Taliban rule and her hopes for Afghanistan's future.
The journalist or the media, social media, it is completely stopped. People cannot talking with the media. Journalists cannot, they cannot interview very, like a freedom of speech. There is no in Afghanistan right now. Human rights is no human rights, no minority and ethnicities group rights. And then no job, there is no job, no money, no food. So all this is no system, no. In Afghanistan, the system, it is the like a government, judiciary, and the legislative. Everything it is go down right now.
Is there any hope over there for the people of Afghanistan? I guess what's your hope for them?
For this for right now and what kind of situation, there is no hope. I think every countries, every people who are, if they think the Taliban brings some changes in Afghanistan, if they could do something during this past year, this year, I think they should be bring some changes. They should be show to the international communities, international people, a little bit change, but we don't see any changes. Every day, they just trying to play with the women's rights, with the freedom of speech, with something that just they make busy the international, the community, countries. They make them busy, the journalists, with kind of stuff to avoid people thinks about what's going on in this country. People, they starving. People, they dying. Nobody knows how many people dying every day because there is no media right now.
How do you feel looking at your country now, what's happened, how things have changed? How does that make you feel?
I work for that country. I belongs to that country. Even the Taliban, even the nationalist people, they think Hazara is not belong to that country. Always they told them. We are the native of that country. So the night I hear Afghanistan is collapsed, I was the person who sit in my house and I couldn't breathe, and then I didn't know what should I do. I live in far from my friends, so I call her. Hey, I cannot sit in my home. I don't know what should I do. It was I as a politician person, I as a person who works with the people very closely, I watching the Afghanistan very closely, what's going on minute by minute. I knew something is bad has happened. See how I shocked about that. And then let's see what about the other people. So I came out at 9 o'clock. I drove to my friend's home about more than 1 hour, and I went there and just with her, we crying whole night, and then watching the the social media, what's going on, and then what's happened, how we can help the people. For the first time, it was like this shocking, and then still that shock, it doesn't go away. And then this is the worst. Sometimes you cannot explain how you feel. You have to be from Afghanistan. You have to work there. You have to belong to that country that you can feel how hopeless I am after 20 years, full of hope, full of energy. Still, with all this going on, still we're thinking, one day we will go back and we should build that country again. We should bring hope back to that country. But this is not gonna happen without any supporting. We need our another support of the international allies, friends who thinking our pain and then support us to rebuild Afghanistan again. We have to take back this country from the extremists, from the radicalist people like Taliban.
And again, that was Azra Jafari. We thank her for her interview, and we thank you for watching tonight. For the entire EWTN News Nightly team, I'm Tracy Sabol. Good night, and God bless.